My bold UFC predictions for 2026, what I think is going to happen in the UFC this year. Starting off with number one, I think the White House card is going to be a complete disaster, and I think it's going to be super underwhelming. The crowd is going to be pretty limited, and I feel like it's going to be even worse than the Apex, or at least in the Apex, yes, it's a small group, but they're fight fans, where the people at this event, they're not really going to watch the UFC. The crowd isn't going to be going crazy. I think the crowd is going to be dead. And I feel like the actual card, the main card, it's going to be a letdown similar to the Sphere card, where the fighters and the fights weren't as anticipated as we thought. We thought we were getting like 3 title fights, or at least a very good undercard. But instead, the fights on that card that was announced, it was pretty disappointing. I feel like the same thing is going to happen here. I feel like people are expecting the best card ever, like a UFC 300, 4 title fights, but we're just not going to get that. And if you actually think about it, there's no one really, or a big main event to put on this card. Alex Pereira wanted John Jones, and he said he's not fighting on the White House card. That's one of his biggest stars, the UFC's biggest stars, and he's just off the card. That's not going to happen. Ilia Topuria, he's not going to be back in time. The court case, it's going to take way longer than 6 months. I doubt that he's going to be back in time. We're not going to see Ilia versus Islam. And even Islam Makhachev, originally he said he wanted to fight at the White House card, but then Khabib told him it's going to be too many distractions. Don't do it. So now Islam Makhachev is off that card. Khamzat Chimaev, honestly, I doubt that they're going to do Khamzat versus Imavov in the main event. I mean, Khamzat is a superstar, but having that fight at the White House just seems a little weird. Plus, it's not that anticipated of a fight. We don't know if Aspinall and Gane, if Aspinall is going to be ready for that fight with his eye. So that may be another fight that doesn't happen. And unfortunately, I think the most realistic option is that they do Merab versus Jan, the trilogy. I think with the timeline, that's really the only one that makes sense. Honestly, I thought that Nunes versus Harrison was a lock. That was going to be the main event. But with them fighting, I don't know if they're going to do a rematch, a quick turnaround a few months later. I think that's possible for the co-main event. But those are the only 2 title fights that I could see. Maybe a Tyra versus Van, but none of those fights, none of those 3 fights are super anticipated. And for a main event at the White House, it's just a little underwhelming. I think they could make the card pretty stacked, but I think that the main and co-main are going to be pretty disappointing. And it's a shame because I feel like for the UFC, it would have been so much better. Instead of the White House card, they should have done something like a UFC Africa when they had the 3 African champions, or when they had Dricus du Plessis as a champion. They should have done Dricus versus Adesanya in Africa. They could have done Ilia versus Oliveira in Spain, or Ilia versus Max. But I feel like instead they went to the White House, which is unique, but the crowd just isn't going to be the same. I'd rather see UFC Spain or UFC Africa. Next up, now this just isn't specific for 2026, but I think the super fight between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev will not happen this year. And also, I don't think that's going to happen ever. I don't see these two ever fighting. We know the UFC wants both of these guys to be stars. That's why they told Islam Makhachev to move up to 170, vacate his belt, and then Ilia Topuria to move up to 155 and vacate his belt. I think Makhachev has so many contenders to fight at 170. He's not going to move back down to 155. And for Ilia Topuria, his court case is going to take a long time. I think if he fights again, it's going to be against like a Paddy or Justin, unless he just moves to boxing. And even then, by the time it does happen, it would be 2-3 years down the line, when I think actually Makhachev is going to be retired by then. So I just don't think that this fight will ever happen. Next up, this is kind of just a gut feeling, kind of related to the last take. I don't think that Ilia Topuria is going to fight in 2026. I think his case is going to take much longer than people are expecting. And if Paddy Pimblett is the one who wins at UFC 324, he's going to be promoted to undisputed champion. I think if Justin wins, they're just going to keep him as the interim champion. They're not going to do anything. But I'm telling you, if Paddy wins and Ilia isn't ready by the summer, they are going to strip Ilia Topuria and they're going to make Paddy Pimblett the undisputed champion. And I think they're going to make Paddy versus Arman sometime at the end of 2026 or maybe early 2027, which is unfortunate because Paddy versus Ilia is such a massive fight. So I do think that's going to end up happening. I think my other take is that Paddy Pimblett will be promoted to undisputed champion, but not because he beat Ilia Topuria, because Ilia Topuria partially retired and he's just waiting for his case to be done. Next up, with Paramount Plus, I think that undeserved title shots are going to be even more common. We saw Paramount, I think that was supposed to be Nunes versus Harrison and maybe Pimlet Gaethje as the co-main event, but they wanted a better main event, so they put the interim title on the line. And I really think that interim title is because of Paramount, and likely because of Lopez and Volk being made. I think it's because of Paramount. They wanted a Mexican champion. With Paramount paying so much money for the UFC, they're going to want the biggest selling fights possible. I think that we're going to see guys like Arman continue to lose out. I think that they're going to go with Kamaru Usman instead of guys like Ian Gary or Morales that definitely deserve it more, but just because Usman has a bigger name, he's the former undisputed champion. Next up, I think that Alex Pereira is going to move to heavyweight and destroy everyone. I think that he's been hinting at it, and with him not fighting Jones, which I do think he would beat Jones. I think Jones is just older. He's not as good as he used to be. He's not in his prime. I think that eventually, maybe after the Olberg fight, he's going to vacate his belt. I think he's going to defend maybe one more time at 205. He's going to move up a division to heavyweight, and I think he beats everyone at heavyweight. I think he beats Ciryl Gane. I even think he beats Tom Aspinall. Other guys like Almeida, Volkov, I think he beats all of them. And I think he's become the first UFC fighter to win a belt in 3 divisions, becoming one of the greatest of all time. I think that this is going to be another great year for Alex Pereira. Light heavyweights are just so much better than heavyweight. I know we see guys like Ryan Spann struggle, but he's just not a good fighter at all. Alex Pereira, it's a little bit different. I think he beats everyone. I think he fights one time at heavyweight and he becomes the champion, or at the very least interim champion if Aspinall isn't ready to fight. I don't think that they're going to strip Tom Aspinall because they kind of did him dirty. They have to do him some sort of favor. So I think they're going to keep him as the champion, and they could do Gane versus Pereira for the interim title. Next up, this goes along with my last take. I think that Jiri Prochazka is going to be the undisputed champion at 205, not because he beats Alex Pereira, but because Alex Pereira moves up a division. We know that they don't do the double champ status anymore. They don't have double champions. They're going to make him vacate his belt, and I think it's going to be Jiri versus maybe an Olberg or Azamat, someone like that. And I think he wins. I think Jiri in 5-round fights is great. I think it's almost impossible for him to lose a fight that goes the distance. And despite getting knocked out by Pereira, he does have a granite chin. Pereira, I feel like, is the only person that can really beat him. Jiri is super durable. He does good as the fight goes on. He breaks you. He has a granite chin. He has a ton of power, and I do think he beats a lot of those guys because I don't think that they're going to be able to knock out Jiri, which I really think is the only way to beat Jiri. Next up, Merab goes on a crazy skid. I think that he loses to Jan. I think that he does a quick turnaround for Peter Yan. I think that they fight maybe in May or June or something like that, and he's not the type to lose and sit around. He's going to get active. They're going to throw him maybe a Song Yadong or someone like that. And I think that he's getting up there in age. I think that he's going to lose after Peter Yan because he's going to do a quick turnaround. I could even see them making the Peyton Talbot fight, Peyton Talbot versus Merab. And I think Peyton Talbot does have a chance in that fight if his takedown defense holds up. I just think that Merab, because of his activity, because he's going to be taking so much damage, I think that he's going to lose maybe 2 fights this year and he's going to go on somewhat of a skid. And lastly, I think that Sean O'Malley is going to have kind of a redemption arc. I think that he beats Song Yadong pretty easily in January. He's going to take some time off. I don't think that they're going to give him the belt, a title shot, because I think that Umar is going to get the next title shot. I don't think that he fights for the title. I think after Song Yadong, he fights maybe a Peyton Talbot, a Zahabi, maybe a Bautista, and I think he beats them, and I think he gets 2 wins, maybe even 3 in 2026. So those are my predictions for 2026, my hot takes. Let me know which one you disagree with.